Your experience includes many leadership roles, companies like Dream Office Management Corp, Bentall Kennedy, some of the ones that you haven't mentioned yet, and now Epic Investment Services. How have these diverse roles shaped your approach to managing large property portfolios, which you do today?
I think what I've learned from working at all these companies, I've worked with a lot of different people, but one thing I've learned is it's a team game and you have to rely on each other as a team. You can't do it all on your own. It's not push and pull. If you're all pushing in the same direction or pulling in the same direction, as cliche as that might sound, but it's absolutely true.
Given Epic's focus on value creation, what strategies do you find most effective in maximizing value for clients in Western Canada?
We have a very diverse portfolio, so we have different ownership groups that have different goals and objectives. So understanding what their goals and objectives are takes a little bit of time. You really have to do that first, and then lay out, here's the suite of services that we offer, and this is what we can do for you. Where do you want to concentrate on? What's your objective? And until you understand that objective, you can't offer value. So the value comes once you understand that.
Welcome to the Mastering Property Management Podcast. I'm your host, Jared Sarbit. Join me as we delve into candid conversations with industry experts to uncover their strategies and insights for achieving success in property management. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, let's elevate your property management skills together. Hi, everybody. I'm Jared Sarbit, and this is Mastering Property Management. Today, I have the honor and privilege of having Kevin Humphrys on, the Vice President of Real Estate Management for Western Canada, Epic Investment Services. Kevin, thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, awesome. Let's get right into it. Kevin, tell me a little bit about who Epic Investment Services are.
We are a totally integrated third-party property management, asset management, and fund manager. So, primarily we deal with institutional clients. However, we do have a wide range of different client bases, and some are high net worth and some are institutional clients like Alberta Investment Management Corporation or IMCO, OPB. So, do much on the asset management side, the leasing and property management.
Okay, very good. And how long has Epic been around for?
20 odd years. They started in early 2000 through some ex-Oxford folks that had left. But, we're a vastly different company than we were when we started, other than we're still highly entrepreneurial. We although we have process, policy, procedures, we do, value that entrepreneurship and value thinking outside of the box and thinking like an owner would think.
Amazing. I love that. And tell me a little bit about yourself. You've built an impressive career spanning over 20 years yourself in the commercial real estate industry, starting in leasing and expanding into property management and operations. What got you into the industry in the first place? What are some of the major milestones along the way? And how did you reach the current levels of success that you're at today?
That's a loaded question, but I'll do my best to answer it. But I've been extremely fortunate in my career. I've been able to do a lot. I've seen a lot. In order to do that, had to jump around a little bit. And I didn't really have a full plan of what I was going to do when I started out. I thought I would be in sales and leasing for my entire career in real estate, but I wasn't. So a little bit about me and how I started in the career. I kind of fell into it, as many people do. I actually have a teaching background and taught for a few years. I think coming out of university, I kind of knew that wasn't really going to be for me, but I gave it a shot and persevered and really found out that no, it wasn't for me. And then I started in the banking industry for a bit with Alberta Treasury branches, and part of their model is to transfer urbanites to rural areas so that an urbanite can understand how, vastly different the rural communities are. And, I really enjoyed that aspect of it, but it got tiring to travel as much as I was traveling with the bank. And so I left that industry and really didn't know what I was going to do. Had some friends in that worked at Collier's actually, and I spoke to him, and I was like, you've known me since grade school, so what do you think I'm going to be? I'd be good at? He's like, you really should look at real estate. And I'm like, I don't want to sell houses and stuff like that. And he's like, no, no, no. There's more to real estate than selling houses. I'm like, oh, tell me about this. So he told me a little bit about what he does, and he's an appraiser. And he's like, but I see you more on leasing and that sales side of things. I'm like, you know what? I actually think my uncle does this. So I spoke to my uncle, and I said, what do you think about this? Is this what you do? He goes, yeah, it's exactly what I do, and did for my entire career. And quite crucially, I think you'd be fantastic at it. So you should give it a shot. So back to my friend, like, oh yeah, I'm interested. How do I go about doing this? And he's like, you know what? I'll set you up with a few people that I know in the industry, and you can go and talk to them. I was like, fantastic. So he gave me the names of a few people. I called them up and said, I don't know if you're looking to hire. I'm not really interested in a job right now. I'm just more interested in finding out about what you do and how you do it. And so I met with 4 different real estate brokers in 4 different areas, and I was like, more I talk to people, I'm like, I think I would be good at this. I would like to give it a shot. And one of the gentlemen that I spoke to really struck me as kind of a guy that I could learn a lot from, and his name's John Croft. And so he offered me a job, and I said, gladly, I will take it. And I still remember my very first day on the job. I was wondering, what am I doing here? I was in a bullpen with a bunch of salespeople talking on phones, and they're loud, and it was a really interesting environment that I had not seen ever before, other than on television. And I'm like, oh, this really does exist. And I can remember one gentleman. I'm in the photocopier fax room at the time, and making some faxes for John. And one of the gentlemen came into the photocopy room and literally beat the photocopier up when it didn't cooperate for him. And what the type A personality in sales, and I was like, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into?
Sounds like Wolf of Wall Street kind of stuff.
Exactly, exactly. But they're some of these people are just very type A, very any little thing that gets in their way, that's what they fight it and get through it. So that's kind of how I got into the industry. And some of the milestones, that was definitely a big milestone, was working. That was at CBRE, and then I worked at JJ Barnaky, which is now Cushman. But so that milestone was really about learning what real estate is about, what sales and leasing is about. And I spent 2 years learning the market, quite truly, learning the industrial market, learning about, paper your file, make sure that you don't leave things unattended to, because those are the things that are going to come back and bite you in the butt. So make sure you check those off. So, John taught me a lot about that. He taught me how to put offers together. He taught me, how to find out information about a building, and to a broader sense, just how to network as well. And that is he was instrumental in my wanting to stay in this industry. He brought me to every single meeting he had, and he encouraged me to, at first, don't say anything, just listen. But when we got back in his truck, and we would be driving back to the office, so what'd you hear? What didn't you understand? What did you understand? It really encouraged me to ask a lot of questions. And at one point, he had said to me, he goes, you know what your problem is, Kevin? You don't ask enough questions. I was like, okay, I will ask more questions. So that was a big milestone in my career. And then I think, going over to Oxford Properties was another milestone. It's kind of at the time, the gold seal of property management. And what I learned there was what property management was about. Is it vastly different than sales and leasing. And I had always thought I would return to sales and leasing, but I'm going to go and learn about the property management side of things and see how can I leverage property management to improve myself to become a better sales and leasing person. And what I found was I prefer property management over the sales part of things. And so I really, took the opportunity to learn there. I was fortunate enough to work with Darren Rayburn and uh, some other, really fine folks in this industry and learn from them. And then I met my wife at Oxford and decided that we're going to have children together, and this probably isn't the right place for both of us to be at the same time. So decided to move back into the industrial side of things, and went to work with Summit REIT. And so that was a different type of property management than office property management. They do share reporting structures and some things that are very alike, but different asset class, different type of property management is required. And I love the industrial world. There is nothing better than you go into one of your tenant spaces and you walk in and you say to them, "You make what?" And you make money doing what? And then there's these guys most of the tenants that I had were, uh, small to medium sized businesses, that entrepreneurs that started their own business. They saw, hey, I was doing this, I saw a need in this, and now I'm going to exploit it. And they're super proud of what they've created and what they do, and they want to show you what they do. Whereas, in office, it's more, what can I do for them, right? And for them, it was just they want to show off what they've done. So that was really great. And so I learned office, I learned Summit REIT, I learned industrial, and then I decided I'm going to go back to leasing side now and really focused on leasing and development. So uh, that was the next journey, was back into leasing. Did that for a few years before deciding I think I can do this on my own. And so, yeah, so a guy that I knew at the time was trying it out as well. And I said, why don't we partner and do this together? Um, which sounded great. That's when you really learn about business, about people, and about how to run a property managed business. So we set out to kind of verticalize real estate, to create a verticalized real estate development company that did land acquisitions, development of the buildings, leasing of the buildings, build outs of, we had our own construction company doing the build outs. And then property management of it afterwards. So, we tried to do that. Unfortunately, timing was not great, and we ran into kind of 2008-ish, 2009, and a young developer that doesn't have deep pockets or a lot of support wasn't going to make it through there. So, um, you know, but I wouldn't trade that for the world. Despite, losing some money and maybe losing a few years off my life with stress, wouldn't trade that for the moment, because really that opened my eyes to a whole world that I wouldn't have been able to see without actually doing it. And then it opened up doors for me elsewhere, because now I've kind of done land acquisition. I've done pro formas for land development and building a building and starting my own management company, getting my broker's license, doing all of that. So that was kind of the next big milestone in my life. And then, I think the last one for me is being at Epic, and Epic has been a real fun ride for me. I work with some really great people. Our managing directors and managing partners, Letitia Picard and Craig Coleman, are fantastic people, smart business people, but just good people too. And they've given me the opportunity to use my skill set and develop my skill set and manage a large number of people over a large territory. And it's been wonderful, and I've learned a ton from them. But also, we believe in having real strong local offices. So we have senior people in local offices, and those senior people have been around for some time. They've seen a lot. They've got a lot of experience and knowledge, and they're happy to share it with us. So I learn from them. And one of the things probably the biggest thing I like about property management and leasing on this side, every day is a bit different. Every day, a new a new challenge happens, a new bomb explodes, and you've got to deal with it. Um, and that's what keeps that's what keeps me engaged, is just the variety. So, yeah.
Amazing. What an incredible story. A vast amount of experience in multiple different parts of the industry. You've seen a lot, and your tool belt is extremely full. And for those listening, like I think there's so much to be said for trying different areas within the industry, learning all aspects, and your tool belt just gets so strong. So that's amazing, and that's obviously what brought you to today. I kind of want to know, like, what are those characteristics that have got you to this perspective? Like who is Kevin Humphreys, and what are those strengths? What did John Croft see in you to say, I want to spend time with this young man, develop him, take him to these meetings, and then I imagine those traits are similar today. And so what has made Kevin Humphreys who he is today?
You know what? I think I'm a vastly different person than I was when I started in this industry. And I'm a different person from when I was 10, 20, 30, 40. And I won't go any further than that. But, uh, um, you know, y- I think I've become very curious, and I want to know, like, you know, about things. I want to know how things work. I love spending time with our building operators, and like, tell me how that works and explain it in detail. I want to know. Um, and I think that makes you a better person. It makes you a better real estate person. You understand how things work. And so that kind of the first thing I would say. And then um, I'm un- unapologetic about asking questions. So if I don't know what you're talking about, I'm not going to sit there and pretend I do. I'm going to ask you. I'm going to tell you. I don't really understand what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. Can you explain it in better detail? Or and if we have to take it offline, great. That's fine. We'll take it offline. Um, but I want to understand. I don't want to be left where I'm saying, somebody comes back to me and says, well, you were in that meeting and you were nodding your head, so you obviously knew what was going on. I don't want to be that person. And I encourage, those people that are listening, or those people that are getting into this business, and for that matter, any career, ask questions. Don't sit there and say, I'm not going to ask this question because I'm afraid to raise my hand and ask the question. Ask the question, because it's more embarrassing when you don't ask the question and something happens. So,
Yeah. And as you mentioned, that's exactly what John Croft, your early mentor, told you to do, is ask questions, and clearly that stuck with you.
it
And that
100%.
must have been a pretty fundamental part of your development, is that insight. Very very good. Anything else that you would say that?
Yeah, I think I got a couple of other, like, network. Go meet peers. Don't I think nowadays, and especially post COVID, we've become tied to our computer screens, and we're having countless Teams meetings or Zoom meetings, and we're not getting out as much as we should. People don't want to come and work in the office. Like, I can tell you this much. in the 2 years that I worked at CBRE, I learned the entire market. I learned history about the market, and you can't do that without being in an office environment and learning by osmosis. You know, so I'd say that, and it's a journey. It's not a sprint. So take your time. Don't be so eager to get to the next level in your career. You will get there if you do the right things and you ask the right questions. And then lastly, I would say understand that property management and this business is about customer service. So, you know, leases are black and white. Read between the lines, because if you're just going to go out there and be spouting off like you have to do this because the lease says you have to do it, you're not going to be successful. You need to be able to go out and sit, understand what the responsibilities of each people are, but be able to communicate it in a non-threatening way that, having people cooperate with each other.
Amazing. Very good. Very good. Your experience includes, as you mentioned, many leadership roles in companies like Dream Office Management Corp, Bentall Kennedy, some of the ones that you haven't mentioned yet, and now Epic Investment Services. How have these diverse roles shaped your approach to managing large property portfolios, which you do today?
It's a big question again, too. I think what I've learned from working at all these companies, I've worked with a lot of different people. But one thing I've learned is it's a team game. It's really a team game, and you have to rely on each other as a team. So leasing, you have to work with property management, or you have to work with your tenants, and you have to work with the brokerage community. Um, Property manager, you're a service provider to leasing, you're a service provider to the tenants, you're a service provider to your clients. So, you can't do it all on your own, and you need to understand that we work as a team. So, it's not push and pull. It's you're all pushing in the same direction or pulling in the same direction, as cliche as that might sound, but it's absolutely true.
Makes a lot of sense. Very insightful. With your bachelor's in secondary education, you took a pretty unique path, as you've already discussed, into real estate. How has that educational background contributed to your management style or approach into the property management industry?
I like to teach. Number one is, and I don't like to scold. So, don't, my kids might disagree with that, by the way, but I like, I like to teach. And I think that, when somebody is curious and open-minded and wants to learn, I love those people, and I like come here, and I want to teach them everything I know, and um, help them get to where they want to go. And I think if I will go to bat for all of my employees all the time, and we're not. I say this a lot. This is a learning environment. We're learning. Are you going to screw up? Yes. Am I going to screw up? Yes. Let's learn from it and move on. We're not saving lives here. We're not fighting any wars that we're going to lose. There's really nothing that we can do other than learn from those mistakes that we do, and get better from it. So I think that is really my philosophy. And I think if you talk to any people that work with me or work for me, they'll say the same thing: it's about teaching, and, and I learn every day. I learn something new every day too.
Yeah, that's amazing. Very, very fitting with your educational background. So it makes a lot of sense. Very good. Epic Investments Services manages a substantial portfolio, including 9.1 million square feet across Alberta, British Columbia, and Manitoba under your oversight. What are the key challenges and opportunities in managing such a large and diverse regional portfolio?
Probably the biggest one is managing my email. Is probably the biggest one, because I see a lot. I'm involved in a lot. I have to know what's going on in a lot of different areas. So that's probably the biggest thing, is staying on top of all that. Uh, and that's very, very difficult when your portfolio is as large as it is. I have over 70 people that report into me, which is a lot. Um, and you know, I know each of those people. I want to know each of those people. Um, and but staying abreast of everything becomes a challenge. Especially finding that focus time when you're actually trying to focus on something, and you've got 20 different people wanting 20 different things from you. Uh, that's really the most difficult part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, that 70 people is a lot of people to oversee. I can't imagine. So, like, do you find that, are you just kind of answering emails as they come in, or do you try to block off some time every day to dig into them, or how do you manage that?
Yeah, I try to block time. It's time management is, and you and I talked about this before. Time management is very difficult nowadays. With technology, people want answers immediately. You're always available on cell phone or Teams. So trying to find that focus time is still a challenge for me, and I'd say is probably the biggest challenge I have, is finding focus time. Um, but putting people in the right roles and giving them the authority to um, execute on their roles and not overly interfere. Um, that is the goal. And I think, I've got a lot of good people that are, they want to take things off my plate. And I encourage it. So it's, not to the point. It's very difficult to let go too when you have a lot of different things going on, and then finally you just have to say, okay, manager, you take this, you run, you deal with it, and we'll talk next week. Don't send me an email on it, but let's just talk next week.
Good for you. And you mentioned at the beginning that, Epic Investments is a very entrepreneurial business. So I imagine that's how you can accomplish what you need to accomplish, is empowering others, creating that entrepreneurial spirit from the top down, all throughout. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't do everything yourself, and if you're gonna try and be involved in everything, you're gonna fail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Very good. Given Epic's focus on value creation, what strategies do you find most effective in maximizing value for clients in Western Canada? And are there specific approaches you prioritize across property management, leasing, and operations?
It's a great question. This is a fantastic question. I mean, we have a very diverse portfolio, so we have different ownership groups that have different goals and objectives. So understanding what their goals and objectives are takes a little bit of time, and um, y- you really have to do that first. And then lay out here's the suite of services that we offer, and this is what we could do for you. Where do you want to concentrate on this? Is this a medium term hold, a short term hold? Is this something you're going to be holding on for, 10, 15 years? What's your objective? And until you understand that objective, you can't offer value. So the value comes once you understand that. And then, if it's, I want to create, NOI values of, okay, we have, how do we lower operating costs and how do we increase leasing volume and increase rents, right? So, uh, lots of that. And, you know, prioritizing comes from the client, but, once they understand your suite of services too. Yeah.
That makes so much sense. I love that answer. Just really aligning the initiatives with the landlord's objectives. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, yeah, very good. You've been involved in contract negotiations, acquisitions throughout your career. What would you say are the top qualities or skills a property manager needs to excel in contract negotiations and create win-win scenarios for everyone?
This goes back again to understanding each other, right? Like this is what is really important to me. What's really important to you? And then the other stuff is noise, and let's not deal with the noise. Let's deal with the important stuff so that we can deal with that. And also letting people know, like, I'm not the decision maker on a lot of things. That we are a third party property manager. We don't own these buildings. So my job as a fiduciary is to protect my client, and so that's what I'm doing. So don't take things personally. This is what we're doing. um, and I will tell you where I think I can move, and I'll tell you when I think I can't move and why I can't move. Somehow, and then somehow you have to get there, right? I'm dealing with a contract right now that's been going on for quite some time. Um, and I think we're there as of this morning, but um, it's about understanding, and then how do we change the wording in there so that this understanding is clear, right?
Yes. Okay. Good. Good. How do you and including Epic Investments leverage technology and software to streamline your property management processes and enhance the tenant experience?
Yeah, we are having lots of these conversations right now. I sit on what we call a real estate management committee within our organization. That's really how we manage. My peers are on this committee as well, and so are the managing partners of the company. So we talk about what do we need, what are our priorities. I think we first looked at what is going to provide our employees the most value, and that's what we're focusing on right now, is how do we free up our employees' time. So we're looking at things, like predictable AP, for instance, right? Like stuff that can, your invoices come in, it automatically, learns from previous invoices how to code them, and get them into the right place, saving people our time, right? So we're looking at that. We just introduced a new tenant service platform, and preventative maintenance platform, service request platform called Visit. We're one of the first in Canada to use this. But what we liked about it was it incorporates some machine learning and AI that will help our operators, for instance, respond to a service request. So we make sure it gets to the right individual. That individual acknowledges it, and then closes it, but has communication driven through AI, so that you know we don't forget, because we're busy, they're busy. We don't forget to close something off and close the loop with our customer, right? So
Yes.
and
So,
so we're
so is this
using things.
a platform that tenants can use?
This is a platform our tenants log all their service requests through. Yeah. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Gotcha.
So we call it 310 Epic, but it's really the background of it is called Visit.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
Gotcha.
And
Amazing.
that's, we just rolled that out a few months ago, and it is great. And these types of programs are only as good as the user experience and the data that we can get from it, right? So we went with Visit because it was very flexible in terms of the way that we can extract data from it and then improve our service offerings.
Very good. Very good. Given your perspective on Western Canada's market, what are some of the current trends in commercial real estate that property managers should be paying close attention to?
I think the increasing amount of our operating costs they continue to rise because of capital expenses, or the energy expenses. So I think keeping abreast of some technologies that can help you, and different consultants that can help you lower your your operating costs, and a lot of that can be done through, predictive AP, for instance. Saves time, makes you more efficient. You can look at other things, but uh, you know, probably the biggest thing is looking at your carbon footprint and how you can, reduce your carbon footprint. And utilities is a high cost on it. So if you can get your utilities down, you can save your clients and your customers money. Right. So I would say that sustainability and you know I know I'm in Alberta. We're in Alberta, and there's always a kind of that push pull with our carbon footprint and the oil and gas industry. But looking at how we have to do that. There's no doubt we have to do that, and sustainability plays a huge role in that. And I think you want to stay abreast of something and pay attention to how these initiatives can lower your operating expenses and create value for your owner and create value for your customers, being the tenants.
Yeah, very good. Which leads me into my next question. So, sustainability is increasingly critical in property management, as you just mentioned. How does Epic approach sustainability, and what initiatives are you implementing or considering for properties in your portfolio?
We cover all assets classes, right? So each asset class is a bit different. Industrial asset classes, where it's still really in the, call it the primitive day. Like, so you're looking at, making sure LED lighting, of course, right? That's standard. You have to go in and get rid of, change out the lights, make sure that you've got LED lighting. Um, you know, Things like car plugs, making sure your car plugs are on a cycle. They're not just on all the time. They're on a cycle. We're looking at things like whenever we do a capital project, we kind of look at, okay, what's like for like, what's high efficiency, and then what's net carbon zero. And like, how do we get to that, right? Or can we get to that? And so, when we look at all of our asset classes, that's really what we're looking at is we're looking at what is our path to net zero. And then you start prioritizing within there what's going to have the biggest impact. What, again, making sure that your owner, what does that owner want to accomplish? Is sustainability high up on their list? Is reducing your carbon footprint high on your list? If you're holding the property for a long time, probably is. But we're really looking at things like the standard stuff. It's really lighting, water usage, landscaping, waste and energy audits, things like that. One of the things we're really focused on now is data, and how do we get the right data, especially from our industrial tenants. So developing good relationships with the tenants and making, can we get your utility data? And that we've been converting over to what we call a green lease, and many companies are. And so we've put in there that you're going to help support these initiatives, right? So part of that is sharing your data with us so that we can get there, right? Probably one of the interesting things we're doing out in Ontario is this air source heat pumps. So we're getting rid of your traditional rooftop units in areas and climates that we can do that. So we maintain a gas backup to it, but we only use that if we need it. And other than that, they're pretty efficient, and they provide the same, if not better, temperature control.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Good. All right. As a founding member of NAOP in Edmonton's chapter, you're clearly dedicated in professional growth and industry development. How has being involved with professional organizations like NAOP benefited your career? And what would you recommend for similar involvement to other property managers?
Yeah, I mean, BOMA, UDI, NAOP, all of these organizations are great um, ambassadors for building owners and property managers, and if you want to stay abreast of what's happening in the industry and what uh, developers or owners of buildings are seeing as important or seeing as roadblocks to their success, you need to get involved in these things because the conversations are having that's where they're being had from an industry level. And so NAOP attracted me because we just didn't have that here in Edmonton, and so that attracted me in terms of um, we need more advocacy for for owners and developers, and so that becomes an advocacy route, and it also becomes a route for younger people and people in the industry to learn more about their industries and get involved and learn how they can advance you know an issue, where to advance an issue.
Yes. Okay. Great. Looking ahead, what are your goals for Epic Investment Services in Western Canada over the next few years? Are there any particular initiatives or milestones you're excited to pursue?
Again, like this road to net zero and the carbon footprint, is very exciting in terms of, you know, especially in our climate. Like what can and can't we do, and what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. And I would say that combined with machine learning and AI is I I see that as being critical in our industry. If we need to, like, I'm guilty. I'm just scratching the surface of the understanding AI and machine learning, and it's it's just talking to a colleague. I'm like, you should see my want to read section, and is all these AI books, because I'm like, I need to learn this, right? Like, I need to understand how can we get how do we use this, and where do we use it? And like, I know I've had some conversations with people, and you and I bumped into each other at Balmex, and I've listened to some of these people that understand it and are using it, and it's like a foreign language to me. So I'm like, I'm falling behind is how I feel, and I need to get myself back to that space. So I think those are two real exciting areas of growth that I'm trying to learn, and I think Epic is also at the same time going through this as well.
Yeah, well, being curious, like you said, is critical. So it sounds like you're very curious about it, and that's where it begins. That's where it starts. I'm going to ask you about a book for property managers, but do you have any books specifically about AI that you'd recommend?
I don't, because I haven't started reading them.
Okay,
So
okay, yeah,
I know I wrote one down. I could give it to you, but
that's
I
okay. Don't
haven't
worry.
read it. So,
Okay, yeah, don't
yeah, but
worry.
I'd
Yeah,
say, if you want to, I think from a property management perspective, the very first thing is understanding that this is a customer service business. Your client is a customer, your tenant is a customer, uh, the person sitting next to you is a customer. So, I think understanding that is really important. And I think I was given a book by a former boss of mine, which was, and I'm trying to remember the name of it now. I think it was called Behind the Magic Kingdom, seven things you can learn from Disney and their customer service. And that was, understanding that and reading that book. It's a very short read. I recommend it to everybody to read, because it that's the type of customer service that you know creates raving fans. And if you can provide that customer service, you're going to have a lot of raving fans.
That's awesome. I've been looking for a book right now. I'm kind of in a limbo stage, so that's gonna be the next one. I'm gonna get it on Audible today. So yeah, yeah. Thank you for that. Assuming janitorial, is one of your largest ongoing costs within your properties, and as you know, I own a janitorial company. How do you look for janitorial companies to work with, and what qualities in the company are you looking for?
Good question. We just went through a whole exercise of tendering out our janitorial across the country, quite truthfully. And so anywhere that we could, we did. And so, very first thing was we wanted to leverage our size and leverage um, you know, those economies of scale as much as we could. Um, so that was number one. Number two was customer service. Is just like who have we dealt with in the past that provides good customer service and we want to continue to deal with, and let's make sure we invite those people um, to our to our tender. And then being very, very clear in the tender documents of what your expectations are, what the rounds are. Do you need a day porter? Do you not need a day porter? What kind of chemicals are you using? What kind of cleaning products are you using? All of those things, making sure that those align with our, sustainability and health initiatives, and then, the costs are what the costs are. Like, quite truthfully, um, you know, most janitorial companies have the same problem. They have the same issue. It's people, right? And they got to pay people. And right now it's a very, and still is for the foreseeable future, a very people business in terms of I need this many people to clean this many square feet in this time. So, uh, you know, the old thing, looking at daytime cleaning versus nighttime cleaning, does that make sense? All right. So I think, but the biggest thing for me, costs of course are big, but typically what we find is the costs are very, very similar across the board when we do these tenders. There's not a huge range in them. It's more the service levels that we're looking at, and we only invite people to bid on our contracts that we have experience with and trust can provide the service that our customers deserve.
That's awesome. I love that. And it's funny that you brought up just before that the Disney book. And I always am fascinated by the custodial staff at the Disney parks. They spend 2 weeks training them before they even get onto the actually cleaning, just on customer service. And that is so inspiring, and just incredible. And I have a little video about it where I talk about it. But one of the things is the experience is that they're there to impact the guests. And because if they do something special, like go above and beyond, people are like, if Mickey Mouse does it, people expect Mickey Mouse to do something. But if a custodial staff does something special, that's the big impact. You get a bigger impact experience. So I love that you talk about that. I couldn't agree more.
Well, let me tell you my experience at Disney World when my children were very young. Um, they have the lanyards and everybody's collecting pins, and my son was a huge Star Wars fan, like most kids his age, and he was 4 at the time. And my wife said, "Oh, Matthew wants, such and such." And I said, "Oh, I just saw that as we passed. I can run across and get it." She goes, "Oh, would you do that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." So I said, "Stay here. I'll go grab it." Um, Neither of us realized that Matthew was following me to get it. So I'm talking to the gentleman. I get the pin that I want. I turn around, I go back to give it to my son, and he's gone. And my wife goes, "I thought he was with you." And I said, "No, I thought he was with you."
Oh my.
And of course, now you're in Disney World, and you've got a 4-year-old missing. You can imagine you just go from 0 to a million in terms
Yeah.
of the stress that you
Yes.
feel.
Yes.
And I'm like, "Don't move. I'm going to go back to, he must have came with me. I'll go back to the kiosk and see if he's there." I went there and he's not there. And the gentleman is like, "Is everything okay, sir?" I'm like, "No, I was just here and bought this thing from you and I lost my son. He goes, don't move. Don't move. Like, everything's going to be okay. Don't move. He picks up the phone. He calls something, hangs up. He goes, don't move. We're looking. Phone. Literally a minute later, the phone rings. We got him. He goes, is that lady right over there? Is that your son? I'm like, yes. I'm like, oh my God.
Unbelievable.
Thank you
That's
so much.
incredible.
Right. And he says,
Incredible.
they're all trained. Like,
Yeah.
everybody is trained with that
Yes.
customer service. Don't
Yes,
panic.
yes, yes,
Like,
yes, yes.
yeah.
Ah, I love it. I love it, man. That must have been a roller coaster, pun intended, for a moment for you. Holy cow! Holy
Well,
cow! Yeah,
it was terrifying for
yeah.
the 10-second drop of doom.
Oh
Yeah.
man. Well, yeah. Thank God for Disney.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very good. And then my last question, because I think you kind of answered the book question, right? So I'm going to put that one aside, unless you have another book you want to recommend.
No, that's
So
the
no,
one I
that's the one.
have
Okay,
here. Yeah.
good. So then my final question is, if you can manage any famous property in the world, what property would that be and why?
You know, um, West Edmonton Mall, maybe. Um, yeah. One of those big malls. Only for the fact that it's the one asset class I've not managed. And, well, no, sorry, it's two of what I've not managed. I haven't done multifamily either. But I was just at West Ed with my wife, and I'm like, hey, every time I come here, there's a different store, and what the store that I want to go to is gone, and like the amount of activity in there is huge. And I'm sure that's the same for any of those big malls like that. But West Edmonton Mall's got the entertainment part of it, and it's got the shopping part of it. It's got the eating part of it. It's got everything. So I think that, and it's an older asset. So there's lots of things happening, and now they're building the LRT line across it. So there's a lot of things happening there. I think I would really learn a lot, and it would be interesting. Yeah.
That's awesome. You're the second person to say West Edmonton Mall in this podcast now, and I said to the first person that it's I love when people pick probably the most difficult property, arguably in Canada, to manage. It just speaks volumes to who you are, and again, your curious mind, you're willing to take on a challenge. So that's really cool. Yeah, I can't imagine that must be such a beast to manage from many levels. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even pretend to understand all the levels that
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
the managers deal with
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Well, amazing, Kevin. Thank you so much for coming on. This was a really, really good conversation. Super valuable for all of our listeners. Where's the best place for people to connect with you? Would it be LinkedIn or?
Yeah, LinkedIn, or
Awesome.
email me directly. I'm all over the internet now.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
everybody.
Just not too many emails, right? Because
Yeah,
you're
not too many.
already. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Awesome, amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Wishing you continued success, and look forward to keeping in touch over the years. So, thanks, Kevin.
No, I appreciate you having me on. Thanks for the invite.
You bet. Thanks so much.